Questions I got asked, all right? Like, what value do patents have, if any? Okay, as in, gee, I came up with this great invention, but the patent office told me to get lost. Or, gee, my company got shelved in court, and we thought we had a great case. Boom, what's going on? All right? Naturally, we'll talk a little bit about the law. I mean, if I were not a lawyer, I would talk a lot about politics, but since I am a lawyer, I have to talk about the law. Bummer. And I think we'll just jump into the idea of talking about what's practical, what do engineering leaders have to care about, and I encourage people to ask questions, raise your hand. You know, it's going to be a boring talk. I only have 6 slides. If nobody asks any questions, we'll be over really quickly. Okay, so the first question is, I gotta ask, what value do ideas have? Okay, so who would like to, how many people have iPhones or other smartphones? So how would you like it if you didn't have them? What would you do instead? Blackberries. That's also a smartphone. Landlines. Who remembers landlines? Who remembers answering machines? Okay. Who remembers encyclopedias? No, yeah. Who remembers doing actual research in the library instead of just doing a search on Wikipedia? Okay, yeah, see? Things change. Why do they change? Because people have ideas. Why do people have ideas? Because they don't like the way it's going on right now. Okay? It's a common saying that necessity is the mother of invention. My view is that intolerance is its father. As in, I'm sick of this and I'm not going to have it anymore, so I'm going to fix it. That's where most ideas come from. So, it turns out ideas have value. Okay? You know, the fax machine was valuable because you could send pictures over the telephone line. What would you do if you didn't have one? Well, there was the Postal Express. Not so good. Right? If you didn't have that, you'd have to do something alternative. And if you had to do something alternative, it might be more expensive to get what you wanted done. These days, you can send somebody a 25 megabyte file or a 25 gigabyte file over the internet, and they'll get it 10 minutes later, and they will promptly dump it in the trash. Whereas previously, you had to send them a package by postal mail, and it would take 7 days, and then they would dump it in the trash anyway. See how far we've gotten? Okay, so when we talk about the value of ideas, we ask, what can you do now that you couldn't do before? And if you couldn't do that, you know, what are you saving? All right, usually, how much money are you saving? But ultimately, what are you saving? Your time, your effort, risk, the possibility that somebody might not be able to, you know, might not make it through the night, whatever. Okay? Ideas have value. Anybody who wants to go back from 2017 to say 1617 and live in that era, raise your hand. No. Got it. Okay, so briefly, we will talk about the law of ideas. Okay, as you can tell, I'm doing a Mario theme here. Okay. Yes, John.
Aren't those Mario images trademarked or copyrighted?
It's fair use. I'm a lawyer, I can wait this shit.
All right.
Okay, so usually in the law of ideas, we say that there are 4 main kinds of intellectual property, and that they are patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. Probably the best way to divide this up is to think of patents and trade secrets as dealing with technology, and copyrights and trademarks as dealing with content. And alternatively, you could divide that up as saying that, God, I had notes. Nobody's asking questions, that's why I'm blanking. Okay, so copyright has to do with content, all right? Trademarks have to do with the kind of content that distinguishes my product from your product. So, for example, this is an Apple iPhone, right? Okay. If somebody else in this room tried to sell a smartphone and call it the iPhone, guess where you would land yourself? What? Yeah, in hot water. In court, yeah. I mean, that's the same thing. When I was in law school on the very first day, somebody raised their hand and said, you know, when I was a teenager, they told me to stay out of court. Tough audience. Tough audience. Come on, guys. Gals, live a little. Okay. So, patents and trade secrets have to do with technology. There's some fuzziness on this, but if you have a bright idea and you keep it a secret, you don't tell people, who's heard of NDAs? Right? That stands for non-disclosure agreement. That's what trade secrets are all about. Patents are the exact opposite. The word patent means open, okay? And it comes from letters patent, which means open letters from the state to everybody that says, hey, this guy thought of this bright idea, or this gal thought of this bright idea, and they have the right to it for a while. Yes? Got a question. Wow, you're number one.
Are you missing registered trademark here?
What?
Registered trademark? What's the difference between registered and non-registered trademark?
The difference between registered trademarks and non-registered trademarks. Registered trademarks are put in the Federal Register of Trademarks, and everybody in the country is presumed to know about them. If your trademark is not registered, you are still using it as a trademark. You have trademark rights, but they only go as far as people have actually heard of them. So, for example, when McDonald's was a tiny little company operating in Southern California, the only people that were presumed to know about them were people who lived in that area or went to restaurants in that area. But now, they have a registration on the trademark register. Everybody in the United States is presumed to know about their trademark. All right? Now, trademarks, by the way, don't cover the word. They only cover the connection between the word and the product. So McDonald's sells hamburgers. I mean, they also sell children's toys and T-shirts and a bunch of other things. Yeah.
I'm reminded of, there was the record company Apple and the computer company Apple, and it was a big fight about that term, right?
Yeah, in fact, there's also a temp agency called Apple.
All right.
Yes, and in fact, all three of those companies are called Apple, same spelling, same word. They even use a picture of an apple, okay, or at least the temp agency does. I don't know about the computer company. God, this is a tough audience. You guys are gonna laugh more. Come on. What do they do, surgically remove your sense of humor? I went to engineering school and we were funny. I hung a bicycle out in my dorm 50 feet above the ground and nobody was laughing then. Okay, so the answer to your question is, the connection between the word and the goods is what you own. Apple has the right to use Apple for computers. Apple Records has the right to use Apple with records. And Apple Temp Agency has the right to use Apple for services for providing temporary people. Okay? And what the lawsuit was about between Apple and Apple was who had the right to sell music over the internet. Okay? And in fact, very interesting case. Apple Records and Apple Computers actually had a dust-up when Apple Computer was a really wee little company that probably, could fit in this room, okay? And Apple Records imposed this deal on Apple that said that they would never sell records. Well, this is back in the 1970s, and they hadn't thought of MP3s back then. So when Apple Computer started selling MP3s over the internet, Apple Records said, foul! Okay, and the two of them had a contract. Okay, they had a deal. So they went to court. As it turns out, they went to court in London. Okay? And so this case got tried to a judge in London, and the judge goes and interprets the contract. And he says, I see this contract doesn't say anything about MP3s. Of course, this contract was written in 1976, so I'm not surprised, but too bad. Tough cookies, guys. Apple Computer can sell MP3s. Tough. And that's the way it went. Stranger results have never been known to happen.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So, briefly, yes. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? We have a saying in the law, if you put enough zeros after the dollar sign, people will litigate. Pays my mortgage. Laugh already. Yeah, I know. I'm crying on the inside, outside. Okay. So anyway, trademarks cover things like pictures like that, and actually, so do copyrights, because you can have a copyright and a trademark on a picture, blah, okay? The difference is that the copyright covers the picture itself. The trademark covers the connection with goods. I'm not selling video games, so those people are SO or SOL. Okay. Okay, so who has a bright idea? Ron has a bright idea. You want to tell us all, or do you want to just? We all have bright ideas. I had a bright idea the other day. My bright idea was that my teenage daughter would actually pay attention and listen to me. Did that fly? No. You can't patent that either, because guess what? It's been done. Actually, I don't think that one has ever been done. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, you can't patent that. We have another joke among patent lawyers, which is that you can patent anything if you go back far enough in time. There was a time when airplanes were new. In fact, these days, if you wanted to get a patent on an airplane, no. There was a time when automobiles were new. Okay, you'd have to go back about another 100 years before the airplane before you could patent automobiles. And there was a time when bicycles were new. And you'd have to go back about another 100 years before that before you could patent bicycles. All right? So, as it turns out, yes, John.
What about
you're
the
gonna
design of a bicycle, design patents?
Okay, design patents are a different story. Okay, when we say the design of a bicycle, what you're usually referring to is the structure of the bicycle as it's put together, two wheels with a connection between them and a seat on top and some handlebars. Okay, that's a bicycle. Okay, as opposed to a unicycle or a tricycle. Okay, what a design patent is a design patent. It's a separate beast entirely, which doesn't show up on that chart from the previous time, but does show up on this chart, okay? Because design patents cover the aesthetic function, the aesthetic ornamentation of an object. So if I have a clever way of making cushions that show how nice and wonderful they are because the design is pretty, I can get a separate patent on that. But that's not technology. In fact, it's the exact opposite.
It's only aesthetics.
Only aesthetics, that's right. So for example,